the 606 show, and currently reigning Radio Personality of the Year. Not to mention Radio 5's shrewd new choice to present their breakfast show. Ah, yeah, breakfast shows. Bags under the eyes, the bad temper, the tendency to nod off in mid-conversation. Nothing changes. Welcome the presenter most housewives refuse to swap for two of their old DJs, Danny Baker. You see, you're taller on the television, aren't you? You're taller than I thought you'd be.
Well, it's because your set's only 19 inches big, Terry.
I thought you were a squat little chap, but you're not.
That's what most people say. One thing I get from my time on the television, radio person now, of course, but on the television is, you're not as fat as I thought you'd be.
Yeah.
Which is, you go, oh, aren't I really? Oh, it's good, right?
It strikes a responsive chord with me. I've had it all my life.
Yeah.
And my life's been a lot longer than yours. Now, do you feel that you're going to have to undergo some kind of change of personality now that you are Radio Personality of the Year? You're going to clean up the act?
Twice over as well. Got voted twice within a fortnight.
Yeah.
Which kind of demeans those ceremonies, means they're having them every fortnight. But I won the last two. And it's... The only way you can treat it is the way... I mean, I've been doing radio shows for 3 years, one way and another. It's pretty much the same act all the way along. And it's wonderful to get them. I can't bear these people who demean the awards, even though I just did a little, because I think they're fantastic things. And all of a sudden, they give you these awards for being alive. And then they say, when you come back, like there's a little shrine in the centre of Broadcasting House, big photo of you with a candle floating in water and a bell that has to be rung every quarter of an hour. And the security men have to show you their passes when you go by, which is always refreshing. And when people say, what did you actually get it for? They expect you to go, oh, I don't know. I always say, because of all the personalities in the world, mine is the best and the one everyone wants to have. And they go, okay, and then, but you can see that he's joking. And
but you're not. I know you're not. No. But I mean, you see, you are already displaying signs of what could be categorized as Jimmy Young megalomania.
Rampant ego, yes, I think is the...
I mean, you coming in to do your morning radio show, which is unprecedented in the BBC, and you've insisted on playing just your own records.
Yeah, well, you say that. It's part of the new economy drive. They said you're going to play your own records, by the way. No, it's a very old-fashioned idea, and I don't want to trumpet it as, look, mine's the revolutionary way. It doesn't work for everyone. But given that the other show I did, the football show, had a lot of success, and they said, you want to take over the breakfast show? You know, it seems to go well. I said, yeah. I said, but how about if I turn up at 6:25, we go on the air at 6:30? And we don't know what it's going to be, because this cocooned world of radio, which works for some people, where, you know, in 3 minutes we're going to talk about this, and, you know, we'll take these calls. I said, we just do it. I said, that's the way I work. It's the way I work best. And I'll come in with 2 bags of old records, and I'll bung them on. I won't bore people with esoteric tracks, and we'll keep it going, and at 9 o'clock we'll come off the air, and we've done a show, and we all go home. Oh, that's in principle, they said, but they were very brave, and they let us do it. And now my persona is like, you know, just the best thing in the world.
Yes. Is that the general feeling in broadcasting? It's all new to me, that concept of radio, of course.
Well, right, now, I'm sure. I mean, as I say, I just think in recent years, particularly through commercial radio and stuff, that, yeah, I mean, that kind of idea of less talk, more music. But it depends what you're talking about. If you're just identifying your station every 15 minutes and saying, hello, Jen, husband at work, is he? OK, Jen, get on to 3 questions. Firstly, what's your name? Right, that's the first one out the way. And all that kind of nonsense, unless you actually talk to people. Yeah. And we don't know how long we're going to talk to people.
Well, I think that's I mean, without blowing the BBC's trumpet, that's what I was always able to do on radio, and it's the same principle that you're working to, but it's maybe only something you can do on non-commercial radio. Maybe you can... It does give you a chance to walk on the high wire and take your chances every time you open a mic.
Well, it is something you know, you can't take for granted that, because God knows you go along to enough things these days, and there's paranoia, and everyone's watching their own tail, and they all like to... You know, it's bad enough being a presenter on television, as well as being a DJ. All you ever see are people, you know, who loathe and despise you and hate you. I mean, it's like being a Deutschmark after the First World War, I always say. There's millions of them, and you have to try and bring some kind of currency to that. And as I say, they just said, well, he's done it with the other football show. Let's see if it happens in the mornings. Now, as I say, it may not work for everyone, but it is working really well. And
tell me about the 606, because you're going to stay with us for the show. Yeah. So we'll be talking about you. That 606 show, I mean, Radio 5, they've been saying, oh, nobody's listening to Radio 5, but...
Yeah. Now, you know what they say? They say, oh, that right, because they don't actually want to be as offensive. They say, I can never find that. Like, oh, this new concept of radio, you mean you can change channels? It's not a set of keys or 2 theatre tickets behind the clock. You can find it. It's just there. It's the same place every day, you know. It's at 909, 693, but it's not on the FM, it's on the AM. But when I said, cool, I can't find that, I turned the house upside down. We found it under the settee in the end. You can find it.
But tell me about the 606 show, because that really has made, and apart from your breakfast show, it's made an enormous impact. It's been great for Radio 5. You're kind of looked upon as a guru, really. I mean,
no, I don't mind sending up the personality of the year, but I refuse to buy gurus. No, guru me no gurus, Terry. No, the 606 was a football show that's funny, and I think that just came as an odd thing. It was a funny show.
But don't they try and pull you in to take part as a kind of leader figure for the fans and all the rest?
The worst thing in the world about doing it, for people who don't know it, it is a football show that goes out after the results and tries to apply itself to football teams, and it's much more interested in what supporters really think about things, and it's certainly not that horrible, boring minutiae of should Coggins or Boggins be playing on the left wing. It don't do any of that. It's more interested in the coldest grounds, the ugliest footballers and stuff. Yeah. Or just, not even footballers, just people generally sometimes. And I do get a lot of those pressure groups wanting me to be campaigning and crusading. No, it's funny first, and it should be big and acceptable and arrant nonsense dressed up as, you know, issues of the day. It's not, it's just trash.
The secret of popular radio.
I'd have thought so, hopefully, yeah.
And you do it. Danny Baker.
Thank you very much, is that it?
Thank you, Danny. He's staying put to meet my next guest, a lady who's making a return visit to this program. And last year she took us all into the sublime, surreal and startling world of New York's public access television channels, as featured in the Channel 4 series Manhattan Cable. Now, more recently, she's strapped on her rucksack, given her film crew a bus pass, and set off across the States for her series Made in America, introducing us to quaint folk like this.
It is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love.
I was first runner-up in Miss Kentucky, USA at Large in 1990. I also won Miss Congeniality at the Miss Kentucky, USA at Large. I was first runner-up to Miss Cincinnati, 1990. And I was also Miss Congeniality at the Miss Copa pageant, 1990. Then recently, I'm out of breath. I was also Miss Congeniality at the Miss West Virginia at Large.
Welcome, Laurie Pike. Who was that masked intruder? Who said you could drink? That's only a prop, Laurie. Okay.
That was Eartha Quake, who I was so glad I could see once again. I was so glad to be reunited with her because, in fact, she was an old friend from Cincinnati, my hometown.
You really knew this person?
Actually, I met her because I competed against her in a talent contest, and I lost.
Like I said, there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of person there. But Americans in general are pretty eccentric, aren't they? All Americans. It must be easy for you to go around picking out the eccentrics in America, because the place is barking.
Well, we wouldn't make a show with boring people on it, so... I mean, there are lots of boring people there, just like there are here.
There are no boring... Are there any boring people here?
I met one about 4 years ago, boring person. There's one about, yeah, nothing.
But you don't invite them on your show.
You want to go to Malmo for boring people. That's the place. Sweden for boring.
Sweden, Mark.
Yes, it's tremendously. But you think there's enough... You think there are eccentrics here?
Sure.
Yeah. Is Ohio, in general, a boring or eccentric place?
It's known for being boring and eccentric, but often in places like that, you know, you find the biggest concentration of sickness, too. What I think is people get bored, and so they get into weird things, like performing in drag, even though they weigh 600 pounds, or...
you mean that if you come from a boring place, you're more likely, or in a boring place, you're more likely to get eccentric people?
Maybe. I just think that out of that boredom grows a certain fearlessness or a certain, like, you know, they just get demented.
I think Beccles must be the bravest place on earth then, because it's a dull town, but I don't know. Oh, David Frost.
As I said, I mean, I don't want to go back to Malmo again, but, I mean, it was boring. There wasn't much street life, but there weren't many eccentrics either. If there had been, it might have been livelier.
And maybe unknowing eccentrics, because like that large woman you had there, I mean, there is that particular American shape, I find. I've just come back from the States. No, there is. There's a
How can this man sit here talking about shape?
No, there is. There's an enormous... There is a particular American shape, isn't there, that breakfast gives? You know that kind of... I mean, pear, doesn't it?
The diamond shape.
The diamond shape.
Yeah, well, there's diamond shapes, there's pear shapes.
Crimpling has a lot to do with it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's the sort of stretch stuff that you see in Disney World.
That's it, yeah.
With women wearing.
Right,
you know,
right.
the trousers, they're always a sort of gay blue colour.
I come back from Disney World with at least 10 photos of my friend out of focus, just so I can focus on the bum behind. So you've got to get a photo of that part. Just don't stand there. I'm taking a photo of you, clack. And I've got these hundreds of photos indoors of enormous bums in jeans. Real big. It's a swish-rail bum.
It's a tremendous feature. Yeah. You think Euro Disney, you think it's got plenty of that, or probably not? Has anybody here been?
They don't have anything in Euro Disney. Nobody's going.
No, since the French found out Jerry Lewis is not a Disney character, they're not turning up, I think. Yeah, so it's flopping a bit, yeah.
But most of the people go are British.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's true. Most of their attendance is British.
Tell me how. Have you ever worked in American television?
Well, once, but I got fired.
So why do you think we want you over here?
I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's you and Ruby Wax over here. Can't get a job in America. You're over here persecuting us.
I know. Well, you can go over there.
No, we can't. There's no work for us over there.
Oh, I think a vacancy just come up, didn't it, in the States?
Yes, for Johnny Carson.
But yeah. Jonathan Ross is doing that, isn't he?
No, Jonathan's warming up.
Oh, is he?
For it, but I think they won't be here for the... yeah, John's did a few warms for them.
Yeah.
Johnny Carson has got in all the trade magazines. He saved the best till laughs. L-A-F-F-S. He retires. He retires at the end of this month, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think that, for instance, you, Ruby Wax, are acceptable here? We like American presenters, but never really been a British presenter who's made it to any extent in the States. Why
Maybe there's just one that's not good enough.
Yes, there is.
Know.
The fellow who does lifestyles that are rich and famous.
He's not British, he's Australian.
He's not. He comes from Yorkshire.
He does?
Yes. Here we are in Cher's bedroom. Look at this. You'll think it's dental floss. It's her last tour outfit. He's English. He's English. Yes.
No, they say he's Australian, but no one in America would
doesn't
know
want
the
to admit to
difference.
it. He's got relatives home here,
yeah. You're both going to stay. You were talking of eccentrics, you were the last British person to interview Michael Jackson.
The last person to interview Michael Jackson, yeah. Probably because of that.
What did he call?
He probably said, no more interviews.
Yeah, he said he probably thought you were a little eccentric.
Yeah, we had a good time. The only thing that animated him was Benny Hill and Sid Vicious, the only things that really got him talking. Otherwise, his brothers treated him as a figure of fun.
Does everybody in America think that Benny Hill is the British sense of humour?
I don't know so much. I think that Monty Python is really, the whole, when you think of British humor, you think of Michael Palin and drag.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff... Yes, I find that very hard to shake from my mind as well. But it's an exciting thought, isn't it?
That series came over when I was 13. I fell in love with him. I thought I was a lesbian. I thought he was a man. I was so glad.
Yeah.
The voice and everything. What you say is that it is the British sense of humour. There's no getting away from it. In Disney World, when the riverboat goes round the corner and goes, all the English go, no, that sounds like. The Americans don't do that, you see. You can always spot the British. They laugh at the great big bass note from the riverboat.
Yeah, that's right. Kind of subtle sense of humour.
I laugh.
You're both going to stay. Don't move a muscle from that desirable chaise longue. Laurie, Danny.
You can have a glass of water now, Laurie.
Just back from the cinematic souk known as the Cannes Film Festival. Welcome, Tara Fitzgerald. I hate that kind of woman.
Oh, she's tough.
Yeah, a woman in a
tough.
hat like that.
Yeah, she's mixed up.
Why won't she marry him?
Oh, 101 reasons. She's a contrary being, I think.
Now, you've been in Anglo-Saxon Attitudes and Chamomile Lawns, and they are, in fact, the two of them, the most talked about television dramas of the year, and then one of the most talked about movies. Your flavour of the year.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope so. And next year and the year after.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, they come and they go, you know, and all that kind of intense, glowing light on you all the time. Does it worry you that suddenly some producer's going to turn around and say, oh, no, Tara Fitzgerald, she's been in everything?
Well, they may. I've just got to be very careful. I think, you know, blast out for a bit and then maybe disappear and then spoon myself in a little gradually afterwards.
No, I don't think you've any worries. But I mean, why do you think it's you for the last year and a bit?
I think there
Without
are
showing any
fads.
of Danny's modesty or anything, I mean, you know.
No, I think there are fads. I think there are big fads in the movies and in TV, and I think I happen to come along at the right time, probably with the right kind of qualities, and I have quite British qualities, I know, and they've been making a lot of British.
I always thought you were Irish, you see. I think you've got an Irish face.
Well, I have the Irish eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Naughty.
When Irish eyes are... Well, no, I can't. I'm sorry. It's just that it's... No, shut up. Oh, perhaps you're right. But do worry about trends, Jen. You or somebody in BBC's going to say, let's go back to the good old days and everybody wore a bow tie and spoke properly.
Oh, I can't imagine that. I mean, you've seen the people in charge of these departments over the BBC these days. No, you wouldn't. Trends don't. Well, if there'd have been trends, I was a punk rocker at one time, you see, you know. So there's.
You were, yeah.
Oh, back to.
You were in the forefront of the punk, weren't you?
Right out at the front, yes. There were about 5 of us, and I was way up at the front of punk rock.
Did you do a lot of spitting in those days? Or
no, that all came along with the people after it. We were having the time of our life, and that's what led on to all this. It wasn't as it became with the safety pins, as you know. Things get corrupted and all that, and rather sadly, these little museums on legs are still walking around with the coxcombs and all of that.
And their dogs. They all have a dog now.
They all have the dogs, yeah. Yeah, that's right, they do, yeah. Little tough little dogs with them.
Do you notice any trends coming up?
Do I notice any trends?
Yeah, trends.
I'd rather the Joseph Locke trend I predicted months in advance.
Yes.
Yes, which I can't remember the title of that film. It was
Hear my soul.
I couldn't resist cueing you into that.
Laurie, I mean, do you have to stay au fait with trends?
Au fait?
Yeah, on top of them.
Obviously, there's one I'm missing out on right now. I don't know what au fait.
I was just slipping in a bit of French there because we're going to talk about Cannes in a minute.
Oh, au fait.
Yeah.
Au fait, oui, oui.
No, no.
No?
Why?
Moving right along. You're just back from Cannes.
I am. I slipped over for a quick weekend to taste it.
How do you... I'm just thinking, it's hard to get noticed in Cannes, isn't it?
Not really. Not really. I mean, there are paparazzi everywhere at the opening to a hotel and the entrance and the exit. And they take photographs of you just in case you are somebody, even if they don't know who you are. I mean, I have people going, who is she? Who is she? Oh, photo. Look this way, photo. It all goes on there.
I suppose you can get attention for yourself by leaving all your clothes on.
That's right.
Yeah, that was
That's
cute.
right. Yeah.
But that's why they have to ask who she is.
Yes, yeah, they don't recognize me without them, you see.
Yeah. Do you think it's good, Cannes? You enjoy it?
I
A thing
did.
like
I had
that.
a great time. I had a really good time. I hung around on a few boats and sipped champagne, looked at the sun go down, and it was very nice.
Well, I'm glad people should enjoy stuff like that. You must be a bit jaded with it, are you?
Well,
You've been to all the parties, Dan.
I was, again, continuing my life story over here, after the punk rock, I was on the New Music Express for 4 years, travelled all over the world with different groups, as you say, the Michael Jackson thing. And it does jade you. Yes, it does. You become very odd. From, I went to Venezuela with XTC and America every 2 weeks, and 22, between the ages of 18 and 22, I just went all over the world getting paid for talking to nitwit pop stars all the time,
Yeah.
Making up interviews and stuff.
Yeah, well, you did a lot of that, making the stuff up, didn't you?
Oh, made up loads of them, yeah. All that stuff.
Well, I mean, are you jaded? I mean, what do you think of something like the Cannes Film Festival? Is it something you'd go along to?
It's a bit Oxford Street, I'd have thought. Not where the smarter money goes. I think it's perhaps the sexy thing to do is not be at Cannes if you're that level of star, yeah.
So you're out of it, Terry. You made a big...
No, I said that level of
you made
star.
a program mistake, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Big
Well, I
mistake.
don't think I'm that big yet to be able to be noticed if I'm not there, so maybe next year we'll work on it.
What about Hollywood? Have you tried Hollywood?
Yeah, I tried Hollywood.
Loved it.
Yeah. Now, Cannes actually was a lot of things I thought Hollywood would be and wasn't. I felt Hollywood was a bit vacuous.
My overriding memory of being in Los Angeles, or Hollywood particularly, was a funeral parlour, and it said outside of it, service over in 45 minutes or your funeral's free. I mean, bringing the Pizza Hut principle to a bereavement. And I did. I thought inside the fella would have a little T-shirt saying, my dearly beloved spouse passed away and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. I mean, that's what I love about American culture, and that's what you've got the eye for, that very bizarre
For
stuff.
the eccentric. We kind of, Laurie, we kind of, I think, labour under a delusion here that British TV is the best in the world. Chamomile Lawn, and then... do Americans watch that?
A lot of them do, yes, and that is for many, the most cultural experience they'll ever have. They can't be bothered to go to a museum or see a play, but if they watch Upstairs, Downstairs, and they're really in there.
You're a museum piece. Early 20s.
She's a sex symbol here. She's like Einstein in the States.
That's really tough, isn't it?
I think we made a mistake. Do you remember, like, it was only 10, 15 years ago when people used to go to the States and come back before we had breakfast telly, all night TV over here. To come and say, God, the States, 40 channels on all nights. You know, and people used to think that was something enviable, something attainable. And now we've got it. We realise what a drag it is to watch reruns of, you know,
But we do labour under a
morning.
misapprehension here. I think we think our television is the best because of quality and all that kind of thing. Well, I've had lots of Americans come over here and say they thought it was the most boring television in the world.
That's because it's all American product on the telly mainly, isn't it?
It is. I really do think it is better than American
Do
TV,
you?
especially with shows like Made in the USA on.
Yeah. Well, honestly, you've got a tremendous future here. I can see that. And you're having your future now, aren't you? And mind you, make everything you can of it. And congratulations on all your success. Many more good movies and plays.
Work it, girl.
I say to you, you're the personality of the century. I mean, you're there. There's no need to say any more. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks,
Tara and Laurie, Danny.
Thanks a lot.
And of course to Katie Lang, and have a great weekend. And